The Apostle John's New Testament Revelation Unfolded, Section 10, Chapter 9. Verse 1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw as it were a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given great power and the key to the bottomless pit, which was dug by those upon the earth. To understand this part correctly, it is important to remember that human beings in mortality are presented as the stars in heaven throughout all of Revelation. Keeping this in mind, we now have John alluding to Lucifer as a fallen star, which name he also uses to express the enticements and lusts of the flesh. Jesus Christ taught John personally, therefore he was well aware of the true meaning of Lucifer, Satan, and the devil. This part of Revelation was inspired by what John heard from Christ, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Luke 10 verses 18 to 19. The ancient prophets also knew the secret. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 15. But thou, O God, shalt bring them down into the pit of destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in thee. Psalms 55 verse 23. My soul is among lions, and I lie even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. Be thou exalted, O God, above the heavens, let thy glory be above all the earth. They have prepared a net for my steps, my soul is bowed down, they have digged a pit before me, into the midst whereof they are fallen themselves. Selah. Psalms 57 verses 4 to 6. From the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously, yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Fear, and the pit, and the snare, are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. Isaiah 24 verses 16 to 17. And Moab shall be destroyed from being a people, because he hath magnified himself against the Lord. Fear, and the pit, and the snare, shall be upon thee, O inhabitant of Moab, saith the Lord. He that fleeth from the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that getteth up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare, for I will bring upon it, even upon Moab, the year of their visitation, saith the Lord. Jeremiah 48 verses 42 to 44. Behold, for peace I had great bitterness, but thou hast in love to my soul delivered it from the pit of corruption, for thou hast cast all my sins behind thy back. Isaiah 38 verse 17, using his mentor's description of the desires and lusts of the flesh, the innate enticements of human nature, the pit, John describes this pit as bottomless. A better translation that would have expressed John's true intent would have been endless instead of bottomless, as in the endless torment those feel who are thrust into a hell often referred to as the bottomless pit. Our human natures create hell on earth by digging this great pit. Our desires of worldly riches, glory, power, superiority, and seclusion in our human groups of race, family, communities, cities, and nations cause a never-ending situation of conflict, inequality, argument, war, and competition. No matter how rich we become, our human natures entice us to lust for more. No matter how powerful we might become, we seek to become more powerful. In our efforts to become number one in any given situation, whether that be the best at our job, in the academia world, in artistic theater, in the athletic arena, or in any other personal pursuit. Our desire to excel above others is endless. This desire to be special and above others is as a pit which has no set bottom as to how low we would go to put ourselves above others in some way or another. The most destructive cause of our emotional hell is our desire to be this number one, the best, in our relationships with each other. As siblings, we strive to exert ourselves to prove our superiority over our brothers and sisters. As spouses, we expect our partners to put us, alone, up above all others. As parents, we put our children first before others, and as friends, we desire to be that one and only best friend. In protecting our selfish interests, the flesh propels us into a protectionist state of existence where our instincts to survive and be recognized as special cause us to forget all aspects of doing unto others what we would want done unto us. Thus in mortality, we are in an endless state, bottomless pit, of trying to satisfy our human natures. Verse 2. And when he had unlocked the bottomless pit and opened it, there arose a smoke out of the pit, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke made by a great furnace in the pit. Smoke is the byproduct of burning, which is a process that occurs after something is done to start a fire. The great furnace is the works of humankind, its societies, its cultures, and everything that occurs by the exercising of free will as the mortal race progresses and learns. As humans advance and progress, they begin to acquire certain knowledge and understanding, the key, which unlocks further technological and societal developments. This furnace is deep within a pit dug by the people of the world. The smoke is the byproduct of human interactions. As the people of the earth continue in wickedness, their works are represented as smoke coming out of the pit they have dug for themselves. While people involve themselves in families, communities, cities, nations, societies, cultures, and in pursuing worldly things and desiring worldly honor and glory, their actions, deeds, and thoughts, the smoke, continue to darken the air, not allowing the sunlight of heaven to get through and give direction, revelation, or inspiration to them. Verse 3. And there came out of the smoke locusts, and they went out upon the earth, and unto them was given power, and their power was in their tails, as the scorpions of the earth have power. John has chosen another of Moses' plagues to illustrate a very destructive force of human nature. Notice that an east wind brings in the locusts, else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locusts into thy coast. And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. End. Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day, and all that night, and when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. Exodus 10 verses 4-5, 13. These locusts are the kings, presidents, popes, priests, general authorities, worldly leaders, and any other humans who control the actions of their followers and subjects, either by teaching or by command. They are given power by those who follow, tail, them whether by devotion or decree. A tail always follows the commands of the creature, and in the case of scorpions, it has a devastating sting. With the power given them, and their proficiency in manipulating those who follow or who are otherwise compelled to execute their commands, these leaders have caused incredible sorrows and torments upon the earth by using their tails to hurt and torment others. Past prophets used the same symbolisms and say unto him, Take heed, and be quiet, fear not, neither be faint-hearted for the two tails of these smoking firebrands, for the fierce anger of Rezin with Syria, and of the son of Remaliah. Isaiah 7 verse 4, and they, whether they will hear, or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear, or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. Ezekiel 2 verses 5-7. Verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. John alludes to the same scenario in which he described the angels who were commanded not to hurt or disturb the grass of the earth, the doctrines and precepts of men, or the trees, humankind, as was previously explained in the commentary of Revelation 7 verses 2-3. The world is not given an understanding of the truth so that it continues to experience the effects of its actions and learn from them. The only ones who will not be hurt are those few who have an understanding of God and His mysteries and do His works doing unto others. The rest will suffer from the effects of their works and those of their leaders, the locusts. Again the words of Jesus, behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Luke 10 verse 19. Verse 5. And to the locusts it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months until they are healed from their hurt, and their torment was as the torment from the tail of a scorpion when he striketh a man. Society has reached a point where the majority is led by a few, locusts, who control every aspect of life. They draw the borders of the land, issue and determine the value of money as well as the value of human life, and also decide what laws should and shouldn't be established to control those whose values they have set. The societies are set up in such a way that in order to survive, every person must look out for him or herself, completely ignoring an environment of peace and joy guaranteed by following the royal law of Christ. The emotional torment caused by the way humans are led by their leaders has truly hurt them. The leaders know they need those who follow them and give them power. Thus, without killing them, they make the people dependent upon them, given that they should not kill them. People hurt others to stay alive in pursuit of their own personal desires in life as well as in consequence of serving their leaders. Because of their leaders and the way societies are set up, humans torment each other, they being the tail that John describes that strike the man. John sets a time frame, 5 months, in which this torment would take place. Through the tribulation and torment that mortals experience, they will obtain knowledge of good and evil, in other words, what works for them and brings them peace and happiness, and what does not, mostly experiencing what does not. This is a period in which we learn right from wrong by experiencing both, after which we are redeemed of our tribulation, relieved of our torment after all the learning has taken place. 5 months is the figurative time frame John uses to describe this period of learning and suffering, torment. Based on the Jewish calendar of 30 days per month, this equates to 150 days, after which an angel will come clothed with a cloud and a rainbow upon his head to relieve these torments. See Revelation 10 verse 1. John takes his symbolism from the story of Noah, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And God looked upon the earth, and, behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. Genesis 6 verses 5 and 12, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters returned from off the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated. Genesis 7 verse 24, 8:2-3, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. Genesis 9 verse 13, interestingly, the green grass and the trees were not hurt or killed during the 150 days of the symbolic great flood, in which all flesh was destroyed. See commentary on Revelation 8 verse 7. During this time of torment and tribulation, the false doctrines and precepts of men are not confounded, and are allowed to coexist with truth and flourish at the will of the people, causing even more torment for those upon the earth, except for those who know and understand the truth, the seal of God in their foreheads. Verse 6. And in those days shall men seek relief from their torment, and shall not find it, and because of the torment they shall desire to die, but they shall find no relief, and death shall flee from them. Depression and anxiety follow the pressures and stress of existence, and have become a worldwide problem. The cause of this emotional state is the deprivation of happiness and peace that all people seek, but cannot find, in a world of constant wars and rumors of wars, political, economic, and religious slavery in order to survive, abject poverty, and the effects of crime. Legal and illegal drugs, both natural and synthetic, become the refuge of both young and old, rich and poor, bond and free, relieving them of a never-ending torment that only ends upon death. The locusts/scorpions, the world's leaders, teachers, and guides, though they torment the people, do not want their tail, followers, dead, otherwise their kingdoms, income, and power would come to naught. Verse 7. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses, and their riders were prepared unto battle, and on the heads of the riders were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. John has already introduced the use of horses and riders to illustrate the actions and effects of the human race on the natural world. See commentary on Revelation 6. Here John further describes the locusts by taking his figurative expressions from the prophet Nahum. There shall the fire devour thee, the sword shall cut thee off, it shall eat thee up like the cankerworm, make thyself many as the cankerworm, make thyself many as the locusts. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven, the cankerworm spoileth, and fleeth away. Thy crowned are as the locusts, and thy captains as the great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges in the cold day, but when the sun ariseth they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria, thy nobles shall dwell in the dust, thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise, thy wound is grievous, all that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee, for upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually? Nahum 3 verses 15-19, Nahum unlocks the mystery of the locusts and their torment when he refers to the great number of merchants the locusts have created, multiplied. He is explicit in writing of thy crowned are as the locusts, which John expresses as, on their heads, whereas it were crowns of gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. In other words, John and Nahum are describing the powers that lead the people upon the earth that back the corporations, businesses, and industries, or whatever name they might have gone by in former times. To keep anyone else in check who might rise up against their way of multiplying the merchants, or doing business as usual, these locusts are prepared unto battle, ready and willing to go to war to protect the secret combinations of moguls, corporations, businesses, and government, all which give them their true power. Verse 8. And they had long hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of young lions. In the commentary for Revelation 6 verse 12, hair is given as a symbolic part of the body that receives revelation and inspiration from God. Long hair was given in the allegoric story of Samson as that which gave him his great strength and power. Hair is used to cover the head, and unlike the men, the Jewish women were commanded to cover theirs. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven. 1 Corinthians 11 verses 4-5, according to Jewish custom and belief, women were not permitted to receive revelation and inspiration from God. Thus, they were to keep their heads covered during meetings and other religious settings where revelation and inspiration was, supposedly, coming from God. John uses this Jewish belief and custom to describe the locusts, leaders of humankind, as those who receive no revelation or inspiration from God, as the hair of women, though their countenance, length of their hair, shows power and authority. The male lion has a long mane indicative of his power within the pride. Male lions protect their own, run off any competition, and kill as they wish, sometimes even members of their own pride, and especially the young cubs. When a hunger needs to be satisfied, the king of beasts eats first before all others. True prophets, in lieu of describing how the leaders of the people acquire what they need to sustain their lives, have often used the term teeth of young lions. Lions use their teeth to hunt and kill what they need to eat. Likewise, the leaders of the world use their teeth to sustain their kingly lifestyles, which upon doing so, corrupt every other aspect of balance and equality in the societal structures of humankind. The prophets saw the day when the Lord would break the teeth of the lions, bringing equality and abundance to all the inhabitants of the earth, thus debasing the rich and causing the poor to rejoice. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. The roaring of the lion, and the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lions, are broken. Job 4 verses 9-10, My soul is among lions, and I lie even among them that are set on fire, even the sons of men, whose teeth are spears and arrows, and their tongue a sharp sword. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth, break out the great teeth of the young lions, O Lord. Psalms 57 verse 4, 58:6. Verse 9. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. Prophets have used the term breastplates as a part of certain clothing worn to illustrate the intent of the wearer. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head, and he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. Isaiah 59 verse 17. During battle, breastplates were worn to protect the vital organs of the bearer from an enemy's attack. According to the law of Moses, a breastplate was made of cloth and worn by the high priest, who was given the authority and supposed power of God to lead and judge the people. Its dimensions and construction were given in exact specifications according to the symbolism of the law. It is important to keep in mind that the Israelites were not living the higher law of God, which is to do unto others what you would want done unto you, but were given a lower law of strict ordinances and sacrifices to keep their minds focused on something rather than their desires to worship the golden calf. Instead of a breastplate of cloth, representative of a warm and peaceful covering devoid of the symbols of physical strength or aggression, John presents the locusts as having breastplates of iron. This symbolizes the heaviness and hardness of the judgments, burdens, and mistruths of the leaders that weigh heavily on the people of the earth. This is given in contrast to the breastplate of Christ, which provides the opposite. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 30. The locusts used their power, wings, and ironclad imposition of wool to bring the people into wars and uprisings, the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle, further causing the torment and hurt that John again describes in the next verse. Verse 10. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails which hurt the men upon the earth, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. John again reiterates that the cause of humanity's problems come from compliant people, tails, following their leaders and doing their bidding, hurting and bringing pain one upon another. Though few in number, the leaders of the earth would have no power or means to hurt others if it were not for the power given them by their followers and their tails. Giving this power to their leaders, the people have brought the torment they feel upon themselves, which is as the sting of a scorpion. And this torment will last as long as mortals continue the process of learning from their experience and mistakes, the cleansing through the 5 months as explained in verse 5 above. Verse 11. And they had a king who ruled over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. It has already been established that John used the term name as a figurative expression of the works of the person who is given the name. In this instance, the name, works, of the king who rules over the people of the earth, the king is the flesh, or Lucifer, or human nature, which controls the works of all people, is destruction and hell. A proper translation of the words Abaddon and Apollyon, which words John chose to use to name the king, literally mean death and destruction. In other words, the king of man is his flesh, or his human nature, which motivates and controls all of his works. In following our human natures, we create emotional stress and torment, hell, and bring inequality and destruction upon each other by the strength of our own arms. Humankind engages in all manner of war and contention in order to protect our property, families, borders, and rights. Those who do not believe as we do, and who might live their lives according to foreign ways that we do not understand, but which we fear might change our own beliefs, are looked upon as enemies of our truths, justifying the hatred and destruction we bring upon them. Our flesh is the king who rules over us. Human nature indeed creates destruction and hell for us all. Know ye not, that to whom, the king, ye yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death, or of obedience unto righteousness. But God be thanked, that ye were the servants of sin, but ye have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you. Being then made free from sin, ye became the servants of righteousness. I speak after the manner of men because of the infirmity of your flesh, for as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanness and to iniquity unto iniquity, even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness. Romans 6 verses 16 to 19. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. 1 John 2 verses 15 to 16. Verse 12. One woe is past, and, behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. The 3 woes mentioned in Revelation 8 verse 13 give us an idea of the spiritual or emotional torment that affects the peace and happiness of our existence. With the blowing of the 5th trumpet, warning, John has presented the idea that when human beings are driven by the lusts and desires of their natural state, they create this torment for themselves. This is done by giving power to those who create an atmosphere conducive to the pursuit of human nature, Lucifer, which in and of itself has always been an enemy of peace and happiness, God. since the figurative fall of Adam, which is the same figurative expression that John uses as the star which fell from heaven upon the earth in Revelation 9 verse 1, human beings in their natural state have become enemies to God. They will be forever and ever unless they yield to the enticements of their spiritual natures and put off their natural states and become saints through the teachings of the One anointed to make sure we become as a little child. This entails becoming submissive, meek, humble, patient, full of love, and willing to submit to all things which are inflicted upon us, even as a child submits to his father. The sixth trumpet, or woe, warns us of the greatest culprit in the downfall of our spiritual natures throughout the many years of our learning and development upon the earth. This culprit slays us spiritually in the flesh, a third part, more than any other woe yet described. After we learn of this culprit, the enemy of our peace and happiness, the next and final woe is the spiritual shock and feeling of embarrassment most will experience, which will be compounded exceedingly because of all the warnings we have received, once the one assigned to our solar system comes again to earth to reveal the truth. Verse 13. And before the sixth angel sounded, I heard a voice come from between the four horns of the golden altar which is before God. The golden altar is the world, which is figuratively presented as always before God. The four horns are at the four corners of the altar, symbolic of the four corners of the earth. The earth was laid out precisely as intended by the creators according to the laws of nature given for this type of creation. Thus, in symbolic representation of this, the altar was meticulously and precisely constructed for the rebellious Jews. Thou son of man, shew the house to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the pattern. And if they be ashamed of all that they have done, shew them the form of the house, and the fashion thereof, and the goings out thereof, and the comings in thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the ordinances thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the laws thereof, and write it in their sight, that they may keep the whole form thereof, and all the ordinances thereof, and do them. This is the law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain the whole limit thereof round about shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the house. And these are the measures of the altar after the cubits. The cubit is a cubit and an handbreadth, even the bottom shall be a cubit, and the breadth a cubit, and the border thereof by the edge thereof round about shall be a span, and this shall be the higher place of the altar. And from the bottom upon the ground even to the lower settle shall be 2 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit, and from the lesser settle even to the greater settle shall be 4 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. So the altar shall be 4 cubits, and from the altar and upward shall be 4 horns. Ezekiel 43 verses 10 to 15. Before the announcement of the sixth angel, there was no indication of the 4 horns being mentioned, because many of the things presented figuratively by John were isolated to specific regions of the world known to humankind, and were not worldwide events. Before the sixth trumpet sounds, or before the time of the opening of the sixth seal, there is no mention of human works being represented in all 4 corners of the earth. Though the angels were aware of the exact dimensions of all of the lands of the earth, mortals did not realize that the world was literally divided into 2 parts, or hemispheres, until the latter times just before the opening of the 7th seal, which figuratively occurs in Revelation, chapter 10. What the angel is announcing is a worldwide event that affects the 4 corners, 4 horns, of the world. Verse 14. Saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, sound the warning that the 4 angels which are still bound in the bottomless pit which is near unto the great river Euphrates shall be loose. John has already shown us that the term angel does not always represent righteousness, see verse 11. However, it is always representative of power and knowledge. Whenever four angels are mentioned, it is given to mean that whatever the angels are doing, they perform it on a worldwide scale. The four angels mentioned here are not righteous angels sent from God, but are from the bottomless pit, or the effects of human nature. The city of Babylon, situated next to the Euphrates River, has been used by prophets to describe the great worldliness and wickedness of humankind. Babylon was the first city to become renowned worldwide as a center of advanced human expression and desire. It is known for the rise of the world's first urban centers and monarchies, together with the first attempts to write, in cuneiform script, build temples, create monumental works of art, organize a government administration, and build empires. The Babylonians are known as the inventors of civilization and left their influence on many neighboring states. Their progress in literature, philosophy, and astronomy by their ancient scientists was unmatched before or after them, until later when the Roman Empire came about. They were the inventors of one of the world's most accurate calendars, and their science and technology became the foundation of knowledge of most other civilizations of that time. But in spite of all of these technological, scientific, artistic, and literary advancements, the Babylonian culture was one of the most selfish and corrupt societies ever created until modern times, which led people further and further away from the principles of equality and doing unto others what one would want done unto them. Throughout the remainder of his revelation, John uses the term Babylon to express the worldliness and wickedness of the world. Here John is telling us that there will be widespread wickedness coming out of the bottomless pit and covering the whole earth, as did Babylon, which sat near unto the great river Euphrates. Verse 15. And the key was given to the sixth angel to loose the four angels bound in the bottomless pit, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Up until the early part of the 1800s, very little technological and scientific advancements were made beyond what the world had experienced for thousands of years. Then, within just a few decades, humans came up with advancements that would make the ancient Babylonians appear uncivilized and underdeveloped. Until this time, the angels kept humankind from discovering and understanding certain aspects of natural law that would permit them to make these miraculous advancements upon the earth. In essence, this knowledge and power was kept under lock and key until an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year that was prepared to allow humankind the opportunity to experience what happens when this knowledge is given to the world and misused by those who are ruled by their king, lusts, and fleshly desires. The angels knew that once humans were allowed to have an understanding of the power of the laws of nature, science, and technology, because of their flesh, human nature, they would harness their use. This would lead to promoting greater destruction and misery upon themselves and on the natural earth upon which they live, slay the third part of men. John saw the effects of this technology on the earth and understood the reasons why the Creator would not allow free-willed beings to have this incredible power until the latter days. He knew that it would have been calamitous to the people if they had been given these technologies too soon, having never experienced what would happen as a result of their use and misuse. Humans did not understand right from wrong because they had not yet experienced all of the consequences of making the wrong choices. John understood that humankind would be allowed to experience this technology at the end of times, so they could not advance far enough to completely destroy each other and the earth before the Lord came in His glory to save them from themselves. Verse 16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000 in their end I could not see, but I heard the number of them. John is telling us here that most of the people of the world will be given the power and ability to use these great technological and scientific advancements. In earlier times, only the rich and powerful, locusts, partook of the things coming from the bottomless pit, causing those who followed them to suffer because of their selfishness. But in the latter times, everyone gets to partake, some more than others. John reflects that the number of people is so great that he cannot determine it from viewing how many there actually are. But he heard the number of them, symbolizing that there are a finite number of people upon the earth participating in the latter days and experiencing the miracles of modern advancements in technology, science, art, and literature. These people, however, are the horsemen of the angels of the bottomless pit. Given what John figuratively expresses as a horse and its rider, we see that he is presenting that the people of the earth are all participating in the wickedness perpetuated by the advancements of the latter days. One cannot argue the fact that in modern times there are few, very few, who do unto others what they would want others to do unto them. Their actions and intents are descriptively given in John's continuing presentation of this time period. Verse 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them rode thereupon, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, and smoke, and brimstone. Instead of a breastplate of cloth, peace, or one of iron, heavy burdens, these horsemen have breastplates of fire, symbolizing their burning intent to use their power and knowledge, fire, to consume the things of the world upon their lusts. Their intent of having the fine things of the world is given by the presentation of jacinth. The smelly, gross repugnancy of these lusts and desires of their hearts is represented here as the effects of brimstone, which is another word for sulfur. To further understand what John is trying to present here, a review of what John means by the presentation of a horse and rider is needed. See commentary on Revelation 6 verse 1. In this figurative presentation given by John, the horsemen have the horses do the killing. Using the expression heads of lions to describe the horses' heads, John tells us that this power is used without regard to any just purpose, and only because they possess the power and can use it as they will. And as expressed above in the prophet's negative use of the term lion, see commentary on Revelation 9 verse 8. Verse 18. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. The burning desire, fire, humans have for the things of the world creates a smoke, which blinds their minds to the reality of what their desires and lusts really do to them and those around them, the third part of men killed, thus creating the tribulations of the world, the putrid smell given as brimstone. These things are the result of the flatteries and perceptions of modern media invented by those who gain when others accept the words which come out of their mouths according to the appetites, lusts, and covetousness for material things which the people have cultivated. This is further explained in the next verse. Verse 19. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and each of their tails had heads, and with them they do hurt. In other words, the laws of nature, such as electronics and the use of phones and computers, nuclear energy, avionics and fuel-powered transportation, and all manner of technology which is used at the command of the rider, are tamed, bridled, and used to kill the people of the earth. Not just spiritually this time, which was previously represented by John using the term hurt instead of kill, but literally killing millions of human beings as well as the natural earth upon which they live by the technology and advancements they are allowed to experience. With modern technology, the powers that be upon the earth do not need other humans to perform much, or most, of the work that is required to create their personal wealth and maintain their power. Therefore, unlike the locusts, which only need the sting of their tails to give them power, these horsemen have their horses kill anyone who might stand in their way. John soon reveals that the horses have power both in their mouths and in their tails, which tails also have mouths that spew out fire, smoke, and brimstone. The wealthy give power from behind the scenes to politicians and others who belong to a circle of individuals chosen for their public skills. These so chosen use patriotism and rhetorical words of promise to follow the agendas of the wealthy elite. The words and actions delivered to the people are meant to pacify and to gain the respect of those who are expected to follow them. Their power is in their mouth. The tails, therefore, are given power virtually equal to the main heads to destroy the peace and happiness that would exist if the people were treated as equals and given equal opportunity to pursue happiness. There is as much power in their tails as in the heads of the tails, wherein these are also used to ruin peace and happiness, being just as successful at destroying as the main head. Bureaucracy is the tails like unto serpents with heads expressed by John. Serpents have always symbolized knowledge and wisdom, yet the use of this knowledge is to hurt instead of promote peace. Jesus advised his disciples, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents, and harmless as doves." Matthew 10 verse 16. Adolf Hitler was one of many modern examples of a wise serpent. When the truth is known, the founding fathers of the United States will also be revealed as very wise serpents. Hitler was a small-framed man, yet from his mouth came power and words that elicited allegiance and obedience. He did not do the killing himself. It was done by the bureaucracy who followed, tails, him and used the power of their commands, their heads, to destroy peace and happiness. These tails also belong to business, law, academia, and the entertainment horses that destroy the peace and happiness of our world. All the while, they are promoting, through flattery, power is in their mouth, their own agendas of acquiring more wealth and power. Verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues still did not repent of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. As explained above, the knowledge of technology has given great power to the people of the earth. The advancements in all areas of life have attained unimaginable levels. But even though humans seem to have advanced and have the power to create the perfect society, there is less love, less respect, less forgiveness, and less tolerance in the modern world than at any other time in history. With the technology that exists today, there is absolutely no reason why there should not be enough free food, clothing, shelter, and health care for every human being upon the earth. Instead of serving the lusts and desires of human nature, which are idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and wood, we should be serving a God who can see, hear, and walk. If we knew God, we would know what He has commanded us to do. Do unto others what you would have them do unto you. If we lived by this law, there would be neither inequality or poverty on the earth today. Verse 21. Neither did they repent of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. Even when we can clearly see that the horsemen and the horses, of whom we were warned by the sixth angel's trumpet, are continually causing the problems that plague our peace and happiness, we stand by and do nothing, neither did they repent, to stop the inequality and poverty that is spreading unabated throughout the entire world. These plagues are threatening the imminent destruction of the whole human race and the world created for them. The human race is being lulled into carnal security where none realizes the wickedness that is taking place. People believe that because they, their families, and their country prosper, that all is well. In the blanket of our imagined security, We continue to abuse each other for the sake of our own gain, which is what John figuratively expresses as murders, sorceries, fornication, and thefts. Truly this woe and warning is greater than all others. Mortal humans have no hope of surviving this woe unless someone more powerful and wiser than any other rescues them. This anointed one will do this by having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand to take the perpetrator of all these woes and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him. See Revelation 20 verses 1 to 3. This concludes chapter 9.